All right, we'll go ahead and get started, and then as folks come on, we will release them from the waiting room. Thanks everyone for coming today to our day in the life. My name is Hannah Williams. I'm a team leader in Children and Family Services, and I want to welcome you to the Day in the Life series hosted by EPIC. EPIC is Johnson County Mental Health's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging, and Accessibility Committee. Our Day in the Life hosts share their lived experiences with a goal of deepening empathy, understanding, and creating community. In this session, we will have about 60 minutes of presentation and up to 30 minutes of question and answer. This session will be recorded and maintained online after today's event. We aim for Johnson County to be known as a place where people feel they matter, are welcome to participate, and have the support they need to succeed. Through today's Day in the Life presentation, we're learning about Isar Anderson and Jenny Martirosyan experiences moving to the U.S. We have opportunity to ask questions in a brave and non-judgmental space. We encourage attendees to cultivate a brave space where we can all challenge ourselves, apply a growth mindset, and commit to unlearning in a welcoming and optimistic space. Isar is a clinician and program manager for ACT. She will share her perspective as someone born and raised outside the U.S. in Gambia, west of Africa, and carrying an accent, rich cultural roots, and a deep curiosity about the people she works with and serves. Isar brings a unique lens to her role, from navigating cultural nuances to finding common ground in shared human struggles. Her work is as much about listening as it is about bridging worlds. In this glimpse into one ordinary yet extraordinary day, Isar reflects on what it means to be a foreign therapist in America. Jenny is a clinician at ACT. She was born and raised in Moscow, Russia. She moved to the U.S. at age 16, navigating a new language, culture, and education system at a pivotal age. As the first in her family to graduate from college, she carries a deep pride in breaking generational barriers and redefining what is possible. Facing stigma around her ethnicity and challenges of being a minority strengthen her resilience, confidence, and empathy. She brings a strong work ethic, adaptability, cultural awareness, and a global perspective to her work, qualities shaped by her upbringing and the obstacles she has overcome. As you have questions, feel free to send them in the chat. If you are not comfortable asking yourself, you can also privately message me or any other EPIC committee members, and we will ask them on your behalf anonymously. We do ask that you turn your cameras on if you're able. We're asking our presenters to be vulnerable and share their stories, so that's why we ask for your cameras to be on. I will now turn it over to our presenters. Thank you.
Hello and welcome, Mel. Well, I guess Jenny and I will call this Coming to America, if you want to say that. I'm Isa Anderson.
And I'm Jenny Martirosyan.
All right. Well, I think we can start off by just talking a little bit about ourselves, our backgrounds, how we grew up, and kind of what led us coming to America. I am the last child of two college professors. I was born in Sierra Leone, west of Africa, grew up in Nigeria, also west of Africa, and my parents are from two different West African countries. So my dad is originally from the Gambia, Smiley Coast of West Africa, and my mom is from Sierra Leone, also a tiny country in West Africa. We moved to Nigeria when I was pretty much a baby, and that's where I got my grade school education, high school education, and secondary education, as well as my first degree. Growing up in Nigeria, I went to a private Baptist missionary school, which had a lot of affiliations with the United States and had the ability to actually come to the US right after high school. However, um, that was not for my father because my father goes, man, if you go to US at this age, the United States will eat you up. It took me several years to understand what he meant by that. But my education, my first education was in psychology. So I pretty much grew up in a diverse family where um, half of my family members are biracial. We are intermarried into different cultures and into races as well. So experiencing any form of diversity was really um, I don't know. I would say I really knew what diversity meant growing up. And my initial dream was not to come to America. But before I tell you what led to coming to America, I'm going to let Jenny share also a little bit about her childhood. And
Yeah.
then we'll go.
So, uh, it, I was 16 when I moved to America. It's just me and my brother. Don't have any other siblings. I was raised in Moscow, in the capital of Russia. My mom is Russian and my dad is Armenian. And actually, I've experienced diversity, which is it's kind of funny to me because even though I don't speak Armenian or I've never been to Armenia, but growing up in Moscow, I still experienced diversity because neither me or my brother were as what considered like blonde with blue hair. As my mom is very blonde and very bright green eyes, my dad was darker, which kind of what led us to move to the States. And we grew up, even though my parents didn't really have college education, but my dad had a really successful business. We lived very wealthy in Moscow. I went to private school. My brother went to private school as well. But for us, the diversity part, because I was never considered like white in Russia, just because of my skin color. And we had a lot of like I think Ku Klux Klan and skinheads, which would literally kill in front of you, like people who were dark skin or dark representation. And I witnessed that one time happen in front of me, and I was terrified. And my mom witnessed that as well. And just with the whole process, and my parents, I think they filed the paperwork to like for safety to move to the States, and that's how, yeah, we ended up here just because of the racial profiling.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I never experienced such in my country. Um, Growing up, I'll pretty much say I grew up in a bubble, and I think a lot of my relatives and friends also told me that. Call it being naive, but when you come to racism or diversity or um, discrimination, those are things I really did not experience or know what it truly meant. Yeah, you watch movies or you see a lot of protests, but you never think it comes on to you. So what led me to moving to the United States? So in 2000, just after I finished my very first degree in Nigeria, because my parents had left Nigeria and gone back to the Gambia, my father passed away. So right after I finished my degree, I went back to the Gambia for his funeral. I did get to work a little bit in the psychiatric hospital that was there, but at that point, you could say I really did not know how to manage my grief. I just could not comprehend that I had lost my dad. So my mom, who was a college professor, also was teaching in the University of Sierra Leone, Fabry, and she said, "Come on over and walk with me," because she was working with some refugee young ladies who were putting a book together. So I left the Gambia thinking that will help me a little bit get over the death of my dad because I was super close to that. Call it daddy's girl or call it being the last child and being spoiled and naive. Yeah. And well, I went to Sierra Leone and I worked with my mom for almost a year. Together we published a book. Still that didn't help. And I told my mom I think it was time for me to leave um Africa in general or Gambia, because Africa is it's a continent, for me to leave the Gambia. And since my dad has said America was not for me and my mom was on board with that, the aim was to go to England and do my master's. When I went, I left, I believe we set all that rolling, and I think in towards the end of 2003, left and went to the UK, where I was staying with some family members. And then my cousin, who was here in the United States, was like, "No, come on over." And that's one of my favorite cousin, not one of my favorite. And so I came over to join him and his family. So first cultural shock that I got in America was getting to the airport, and I'm like a total new person that has truly never really traveled alone, even though I was in my adulthood at that time. But if I travel, is within West Africa. And I said hello to somebody, and I was like, "Can you please direct me to the payphone?" Because my flight had arrived earlier than it was expected, and family member wasn't there to pick me. And I had this person just stare at me and walked off. That was unbelievable. I was like, how can that happen? I mean, I'm coming from a tiny country. Well, I grew up in Nigeria, and it's big, and it's almost like being in New York, as people say, but people are still friendly and will stop to talk to you. So that was a very huge cultural shock. They know what to do. Made it out of the airport. And then my next set of cultural shock came to food. Everything to me at that point was either too salty, too sweet, and I think I was sick for the first month I was here in the United States and missed home a lot. And you can imagine a grown-up always crying to wanting to go back home, even though my cousin told me, yeah, it's gonna get okay. Um, so adjusting to the United States, the culture wasn't really, for me, it wasn't really a big deal. I think until I truly started working.
Mhm.
In my first job here, when I told somebody good morning, and the person told me what was good about the morning. And it made no sense to me also. So those are little things that we take for granted. Like back home is like, those are things like someone says good morning, you just answer good morning, whether you mean it or not. But that was a cultural shock for me and a lot of adjustment that I had to make. Or when I'm talking to someone and they're like, what did you say? And at the back of my head, I'm like, I'm sure you clearly understood me. But it's what did you say? And then you walk away. So for me, those were the kind of diverse
Mhm.
racial discrimination or diversity that I
Mhm.
experienced, not compared to yours. I haven't experienced anything that vast. My moving to America was mainly to get over the loss of my dad, thinking starting a new page.
Well, thanks, Icy. My experience was a little bit different, and I think because of my age, I did not. So in Russia, we have, I think the biggest cultural shock for me was the educational system, transportation, because we moved from Moscow. Originally, we lived in San Diego, California. So I was 16 at the time. I already got admitted to a college because my grandfather was a college
Mhm.
professor in this really nice university. So in Russia, there's only 11 grades, and we go to school with the same people from grade 1 to grade 11. And there's no elementary or like middle or high school. It's just one school together. So you grow up with all, like, you become friends, you know them all. So I mean, I had a little boyfriend at the time. I had my whole life, my friends. My brother was younger. He's 4 years younger than me, so I don't think he fully understood what was going on at the age of 12. But I hated my parents. So when we moved to San Diego, we did not really know anything. My mom didn't know how to drive. My dad did. None of us, well, I spoke English because I went to private school, but it was not the same as like a native fluent, English speaking person. I could not understand what's going on. And then my brother, neither. And then within a month, I had to literally go to school, high school. And then I think that was that I hated it because every class was different. No one was there to help you. Kids were like smoking. drinking and just it was just a chaos. And I cried every day and I just begged my mom to come back home because I couldn't deal with it. It was just very, very hard. And I think just because of my age and yeah, and I just could not understand what was going on. And but then I think then my mom too, and just struggling, like trying to help your parents and not having jobs, coming from being wealthy to having no money. And because we were under the refugee program, so we did get some like food stamps, I believe, some services. But I think there was honestly some kind of like my mom thinking about trying to get us out of the place where we were and get off the benefits. So my mom started working and she was literally like working at this real small Russian restaurant cleaning dishes and just to make money and get us off benefits and try to move us to a better place, better school. And she did. And I never, like, I was very proud of my mother because I never seen that side of her because she never had to really work hard because my dad was the biggest financial supporter. But when we moved to America, all of us kind of had to come together. I started working too at this little, you know, cheeseburger place as a host. But I think the way it is, and I don't know, I think a lot about us coming here is we learn and we adapt, right? We make the best of it because my mom just told me, Jenny, this is what we have, and you're going to make the best of it. And I did, and I will never forget. I want to go to four-year school, and I had an avid teacher, and she laughed at me. She said, "Oh, the best you can do it may be trade school because you've only been in the country for a year." And I said, "Oh, watch me, I'm going to get into school." And I did. I paid for some English classes and I studied all summer and the next year, my senior year, but I did. I got into four-year school and I actually got a full scholarship too. I graduated with honors with my undergrad and I just still remember that teacher because I'm like, this is not a nice thing to say because we all have dreams, right? And like, even if it didn't work out, and I've applied to other colleges too, and I didn't get accepted to every one of them, but I did, and to that one, and I was happy, and I went. I always loved school and studying, but I think for me, that was just seeing my parents struggle to and adjusting, and I think the best that like the my brother, I think it was easiest for him to adjust, and even now he's 30. I feel like he very much like he's American, like he adjusted to the culture and the language too. He barely even speaks Russian, but yeah, I think it was traumatizing, but I mean, you just make it work and you push through and just I'm glad that I have my family with me. Now my dad passed away, but I think overall, yeah, that's just what I dealt with.
Mhm. Well, for education wise, I didn't do my high school here. I did that back home, and so experiencing what you did for high school, I didn't. But I did get into college here. So initially, I came here to do my master's, but then I decided, you know what, I needed a second degree instead of going jumping into the master's straight away. So I got into Pac University to do sociology, get a second degree in sociology. And during that time, because I really love the college life, I think because growing up with two college professors, and my parents also did their undergrad, their masters in the United States here. My mom was in Montana and my dad was in New York, but they met here and got married here also. But I'm just like really loving college, and I go into school, I get into the dorms, and even though my mom was willing to pay, but it was also you've got to sustain your life and you've got to have a job. That was a big shock to me. What? A college student? And I'm seeing other college students having jobs. I'm like, you're in college. Why should you have a job in your first degree as a college student? So, but I had to adjust to that, knowing that yes, I'm like, you're an adult now. You're in college. You should be able to support yourself. Adulthood here in America is 18. Adulthood from where I'm from as a female, when you're married
Yeah.
and you're still not an adult in the eyes of your parents, but you still get your parental support. But all of that had to come in. And when you walk through the campus, I grew up as a very friendly, outgoing young lady, even though I'm an introvert, but I was like very friendly and outgoing. And I'm walking through the campus here, trying to know people. But then you say hi to people, and majority of the time is that quick hi, and everyone is going by their own way, and no one is really stopping to give you attention. Made friends, which with my fellow Africans that were in the school there, and I felt like, that is a shame that I came from a background where I had friends from pretty much all over the world. I have family members from everywhere, but it was so difficult to make friends here. And the statement back home where they say, well, America is everyone for themselves and God for all, started sinking into my head. Um, where, yeah, you are on your own was very hard, quite majority of the time. But did get my degree and then met my ex-husband, made life a little bit better, had my son. So as time went on, you start to adapt to the culture of the society you are in. But I don't think you truly, for me, I always tell my child, um, we live in America, but I'm from Africa. And everything I do is African. I hold so strongly to my culture. And as a clinician, working with youths also, because I think that was also one of the things that really drove me to say this is a population I really want to work with is youths. As when I was a correction officer, hearing the stories of teenagers, what they had to go through, or what they're already experiencing and doing at such a young age was mind blowing. I had to understand why, what was going on. How can you help this population? How can you give them a taste of the life that I had, believing that as a teenager or as a child, you should be protected and loved by your family, by your parents, by the people that you're going over. So that's kind of what made me go into working with just teenagers. I still do experience a lot of cultural shock.
Mhm.
I still hold on to my community. My family always used to tell me I was not like you saying you weren't really Russian. My family always used to tell me, I don't think you're truly an African because I don't know how to cook a lot of our food. English was what we grew up with. My parents, college professors. English is a national language in Nigeria, but so we spoke English at home, not even our native language. I barely speak my native language right now, so friends that grow up say, "Are you sure you're not American?" And I'm in America, and I'm like, "No, Americans do not think I am one." But those little things that we face that we have to adapt to, it's almost like you're in a survival mode that you have to make it no matter what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Is that,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. Um, I mean, I can reflect on, because in our culture, it's very similar to
Mhm.
yours. Everyone, I mean, we grew up in Moscow. It's a lot of apartments. It's a big apartment, and literally, like neighbors will come in, like, "Hey, I need some eggs." They'll
Mhm.
just come in, grab some eggs from my fridge or sugar, and then
Mhm.
vice versa.
Mhm.
And I remember living in my apartment with my parents, and for like 4 years, and we didn't even know our neighbors. And like, you'll say hi, and they'll look at you all crazy, like not even smile. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. I struggled too as well. Like,
Mhm.
even though I was younger, I was in high school and then college, but I struggled to find friends. And the friends that I did have were also from Russia. So I
Mhm.
think we connected on that level. But then I ended up getting married very young at 21. And my ex-husband was in the military. And right after I graduated undergrad, I had my son at 23, and And then my ex-husband, I think his a lot of that was also I've noticed when, being married to him, the cultural views on the family and engagement. He was from Pennsylvania, so we lived in San Diego at the time, and I cried when I got married and moved out. Like I cried because I miss my mom so much. Like I cried every day, and we lived like 20 minutes away. And I cried. I was like, "Mom, I miss you." She'll come over every single day. My dad will come over. We're very close. And he didn't like that or appreciate that. And he was like, "Well, why you always on the phone with your mom?" And I think it was hard for him to understand our culture, like where my mom still lives with me. And when my dad lived with my brother up until he passed away. So I think that's just how it is. My mom is not planning to live here. Yeah. She said I'm not leaving her
I
anytime.
know.
And she's in a relationship, but this is just who we are. And I'm like that with my son too. We're very close. And so that led to a lot of disagreements and a lot of, and so we ended up getting divorced, but also he had a severe PTSD from being deployed many times, and which kind of what Isa was talking, why she wanted to be a clinician, or what led her working with kids. That what made me want to pursue my master's in marriage and family therapy. I originally went to work with veterans, and I ended up divorcing my ex-husband and moving to Kansas and went into grad school to get my master's, which was another process as a single mom
Oh, yeah.
with a kid, going to grad school, working full time with not really a lot of support, but that's something else too.
I know. I understand that.
But me and you were
Yeah.
same journey.
Yeah, that marriage, I mean, married someone from a different culture from you, it is hard.
Mhm.
My ex-husband is also American, African American from originally from Memphis, but grew up in Kansas here. And that cultural differences in the way you raise children or the way you interact with each other. I think I remember my husband's family once telling me I grew up in a fantasy world because of my definition of what I thought a family should look like,
Mhm.
or how a child should be raised, or what you can do together, and your goals. And it was like, you live in America, you're living in a fantasy world. And my response was, what about the American dream? No. Um, but having to navigate that in a relationship, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of understanding and patience. It's the same thing as being in two different religious backgrounds. I mean, when you have to raise children, when you have to get to know each other, it is pretty difficult. It's a lot of hard work in that aspect as well. But um, getting divorce in my culture, I think that was another big thing. In America, being divorced or being single parent, it's not really, I want to say it's not really a big deal, and I might be wrong about that, but it is one of the
I
biggest
think it's more
taboo.
more common,
Yeah, it's
more
more
common,
common.
and more
Yeah,
acceptable.
but it is still till this age a taboo in my own culture. Like being a divorced mom, you introduce yourself and you're like, oh, I'm a divorced mother and a single parent. So you have that dealing with your own society, dealing with, oh, it's okay, it's normal, it's accepted in here. And trying to navigate life all together, that is also a very difficult thing. But also with the mentality of, I think what helped me survive that is, even though I had a mentality like it's better to be a single parent than be in a stressful relationship, but having my own fellow women in my culture, yes, they may not have approved of you being around, but when it says that statement, it takes a village to raise a child. That is what I got from my
Mm.
community, that I didn't get to raise my child alone. I got to raise my child with all my family members and friends that are within my own community. And I really thank God for that, that my son turned out to be awesome today. Does my son accept every single aspect of our culture? No. He accepts the food. And he's always quick to tell me, hey, mom, this is America. We don't do it this way. And I'm quick to tell my son, well, child, you grew up in a, what do you call it? African tummy? So you're an African. Your home is African. I have an African flag there. So you were born in America, but you're African. So that's kind of like one of the jokes my son and I always have back and forth, like, yeah, I'm American. No, you're African. But he also, like growing up and having to learn more about his father's culture and his mother's culture and trying to find where do I lean more towards. I'm being raised in this is how we're doing things, this is how we're going and everything. And then there's the outside world that tells you this is what it is. And how do you blend that into one life? So that was a wonderful experience for me and my child. Still is.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that you face, I don't know if you have that with James, where you say a word to your child and they go, well, that's not how we say it. This is how you say it in an American way.
Not yet, because
And I,
he's younger.
yeah, and I tell my son, well, sorry, I speak English, British English, and this is how we say it. So, which you want to go by? What about you and raising your child and all that?
So I think like reflecting on your culture, I
Mhm,
do think not so much in Russian, but Armenian. It's Armenian's pretty like strong Armenian culture as
mhm,
well. Actually, my parents ended up getting divorced when I was 18, and my mom would never do that if we were still in Russia, just because of not like her family, but mainly my dad's part of the family, just because of the stigma, like you said,
mhm,
being divorced. But and they co-parent very well. They were friends after their divorce. But I'm glad that I think my mom actually she was very hesitant about me getting a divorce just because she didn't want me to raise my son without a father. But I kind of was like, I think it's better to raise him without a father, but in a healthy environment
mhm,
versus me just, not knowing what's going to happen. But my dad, just like you said,
mhm,
my dad was my best friend too. He supported me in every possible way and just was like, divorce him, we got you. And but I think just like being in California was very expensive, so I couldn't really afford it, and that's why we moved to Kansas, and my mom moved with me, and my dad stayed with my brother. And I mean, my ex-husband, my son will be 11 in September, and he was like 1.5 when we got divorced, so he has not been at all a part of my son's life. Barely, maybe once every few years that he sees him. So I don't think that part of his family ever influenced my son, but my son overall he does get mad at me sometimes because I want him to learn and speak Russian, but he does not like that because it's hard. And when I start talking to him in Russian, he said, Mom, please, I don't know what you're saying.
That's my son.
Say English,
Yes,
please.
that's exactly what my son
And I
is like.
said no, because like every summer, my son would go to San Diego and he'll spend time with my brother and my dad. And my dad didn't speak any English, but it was funny. They always understood each other. I don't know how they communicated, but they did.
Mhm,
So my son understands everything in Russian. He just won't speak it.
mhm,
And so I don't force it. I don't force it upon to him. I did, I wanted English to be his first language, which it was. And I say, if you want to learn Russian, go for it. If you want to learn another language, absolutely. But he knows who he is. And my mom, we cook a lot. My mom used to own a restaurant. So we cook a lot, and we cook a lot of traditional Russian food. And
mhm,
my son loves it. He talks about it in school. He always talks about me being a therapist, how hard of the that my mom is smart, my mom is hardworking person. We are from, my mom came from Russia and did all this on her own. So like I think he respects it, appreciates it. And I want him to see how hard it is. Like don't take things for granted, because you do have to work hard to get where you at. And so, but I think it is harder to like for me it was to raise him without a man. And my brother did step in a lot, but he lives in California, so I think the distance was hard. But it was just pretty much me and my mom raising my son. And overall, I think so far, I mean, he's still little, but he's a great kid. Never gave me any troubles. Athletic, smart, but we'll see.
Yeah. One of the questions that people usually ask me a lot is, why did I choose Kansas of all places in America? Honestly, I don't know. All I can say is my cousin was here and I came here and I've been here
It's not a
ever
bad
since.
place.
So, um,
Kansas is good.
if anyone has that question to ask, why Kansas? My family was here and I came here and I've stayed here and I have raised my son here. So
Yeah.
this is pretty much home. Do I go home? Hardly. I went home in 2000 to what,
When your pops was there.
2020 and 22, 2022.
Oh, for your mom?
Yeah, when my mom passed away, you can see I am already denying that my mom has passed away. Yeah, 2022, when my mom passed away, I went home to lay her to rest because my mom was here in the States with me, and lived with me during her sickness and everything, in health and in sickness. Like you say, our culture is we do not abandon our family, our parents especially. They raised us, and at the end of the day, we end up raising them. So yeah, I went home and then took my son home also. And for him, that was a huge, huge cultural shock. I talk about cultural shock coming here, that it was a super cultural shock because when he's talking at home, everyone looks at me, can you translate? And I'm like, he's speaking English. You know, and then I have to turn around and talk to them. But so that made me understand, like, oh, at the back of my head, you clearly understand what I'm saying, but you might not. So whenever I talk to people now here in, I'm like, hey, I have an accent. I speak very fast and my accent comes out a little bit more. Tell me to slow down or tell me to repeat it. I get it because you might not understand me. But I know my son was super frustrated when he went back. He was like, Mom, I'm speaking English. Why don't these people understand what I'm saying? And I'm like, you are speaking a different form of English. You're speaking American English versus they will understand more British English. And you have refused to speak the language. You keep saying he understands completely what you're saying to him, but he will never speak it. So, but um, that is uh, that has helped me understand and be patient. My journey has truly helped me understand and be patient with people's personalities. The very fact that we all have different norms and values. We may even be raised in the same home, same town, same country, same state, but we all have different norms and values and beliefs and experience diversity, discrimination, or racism in different ways. And the fact that we in this field, especially as therapists, should be able to be patient and understand that because of our differences, we should be able to give people an opportunity to learn and grow, most especially to learn about us.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know what else to say, but I don't know. My son hasn't been.
Mm.
I haven't been back to Russia yet because with what's going on in the world, I've got dual citizenship, so it's kind of been hard. I do want to take my son one time to see because I still have my grandmother and my family there, but I totally think like it'll be also a big culture shock for him.
Very.
Even though I do take him on vacations outside, we go to Europe once a year, but I think it'll be different, definitely to see. But yeah, I think overall that experience it makes me because sometimes I remember when I worked for the state of Kansas, I've had uh, straight out of college interns, and they're like, "Well, you don't understand what they're going through." I'm like, "Oh, I do. I've I do because I think the biggest part of me is like if I'm honest, because no one know. I mean." people know my story, but not everyone knows my story, right? People see me as the stereotype, like they look at me, um, and they think, oh, well, you have money, you drive a nice car. I'm not gonna lie, my dad spoiled me, but I've always been an excellent student. I've always had good grades. I've never been in trouble, so my parents always rewarded me for good behaviors and good grades. But people see me as this spoiled brat or bougie something, blah, 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 right?
I'm
And
not
they,
going to relate to that because I was a spoiled brat.
well, I was spoiled. I've traveled the world, but I always had to work for it. I was raised, and I tell my son, and even sometimes like my friends, I'm like, you don't even want to know. My mom was so strict. I was grounded for a B. I mean, I had to beg her to watch TV for half an hour. I mean, I grew up very strict. It was never physical, but we were afraid of our parents growing up. So it's like, but people don't know what I've been through because they just judge by looking at you, right? Oh, well, you have a nice house, you travel, you do, but I worked so hard. Like, it wasn't just given to me. It was hard for me just to go to school, right? With all the stigma and stereotyping, and then go to grad school while working full time, raising a 2 or 3 year old, also taking care of my mom while having to maintain good grades because, C was not a passing grade in grad school. So, and doing a practicum. So I don't honestly, looking back, I don't even know how I did it. Like I know it was a while ago, but still. So it's a lot, but I think instead of like a lot of people, they easy to jump, like it's easy for them to jump to conclusion and assume instead of actually take a moment and right to ask and actually inquire, like, what is your story, right? Where do you come from? And I think that is what it taught me.
Let's see what's some
Um,
questions in there.
uh, see. I can't see. Hold on.
It says, what is one American culture value you have learned to love, and what is one you love from your
Oh,
country?
American. I think American culture value that I truly love is that, uh, and I actually respect and appreciate because in Russia growing up, I would say you can be smart, you can be very hardworking, but it's, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a very corrupted country, right? A lot of it, you have to know someone to get ahead. And I think in America, if you truly have ethics and you work hard, you're gonna get somewhere. That's what I've learned, that you work hard and they accept you and you can make, I don't know, you can make a good living. But one from my country is the family value. The family value, the love, the closeness, the emotional bondness. I mean, I don't care. I'll kiss on my son 20, 30 times. And I tell him I mean, I'll be 35 and my mom still like cuddles with me. And she's like, come here. I said, Mom. And she like in public, but it is who we are. And so, and I don't think I can be, I don't know, it'll never go away. It's just what we are. And we fight too, though, very deeply and passionately. We argue and we talk loud, and sometimes it sounds like we're fighting, but we're very emotional. And that's just how we are.
I agree. I think one thing I would take from my country, from my culture, is that family closeness. And when I say family, it's not just mom, dad, brother, sister, and everything. It's also the extended family,
Even
and
friends,
friends
how
and
you treat
everything.
them too.
Yeah, the way we interact with each other, whether it's you never feel alone. Until my mom passed away, I don't think my mom ever called me just Isa. It was always Baby Juf. That my maiden name is Juf, so it was always Baby Juf. And I had every day still my mom telling me that she loved me, and she gave that to my son. And I did the same thing with my son also. I think every day I speak to him, I do the
Yeah.
same thing with the hugs and
Yeah.
calls. One of the things that I think I love about the American culture is hard work pays. That is one of the things that my parents taught me about, that hard work pays. Yes, back home also is the same thing, is you can have all this degree and everything, but it's who you know to get
Yes.
somewhere. But in America here, hard work truly does pay. So that is one thing that I love about the culture here.
Yes. I agree.
Um, I think basically what we'll say for me, what I'll say about my journey and the message that I'm truly trying to get around to everybody, because we are all foreigners, we are all immigrants in one way or the other in America. So learning to understand that people's culture is important and we should value that no matter what, no matter who the person is, value someone's culture. And what someone takes as culture is not what you will take as, but value it. Be kind at all times, and learn to listen. I don't listen. I want people to listen to me. Don't get it wrong. I get very frustrated sometimes when I'm talking to someone and I have all these ideas in my head and I'm excited and I'm going and going and going, and the person's like, I don't understand a single thing you just said. And I'm like, what? I just gave you all this. So learning to listen on my part, and also from other people, just learning to understand that being from another country does not mean,
That we're different.
yeah, that we're all the
We're
same.
like aliens.
No, exactly, that we're aliens or anything. And don't be afraid to tell me, at least, hey, slow down so I can understand what you're saying versus speak English. Like my son says, or some other people also, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. It's more like, can you slow down so I can hear you a little bit better?
Just like my son
Mhm.
always corrects my mom. Hey, grandma, that's not how you say it. This is how you say it, grandma. She's but I think also not even foreigners, just like when we relate to our clients, right?
Mhm.
When we do intakes, when they just come in here, we learn about their home. We learn about things they like, don't like, what triggers them, right? What their families like. And I think getting to know will allow us to treat them better, right? Provide quality, much quality work.
Oh yeah.
And they all are from here, majority of them, but still, even they still have different cultural values and views. So I
Yeah.
think just we all are different, but the same in a way too.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I remember, if the first thing people ask, oh, you have in Russia, there are bears walking on the road and you drink vodka all day long. I'm like, no,
Don't get me
it's not
started.
true.
Don't get
But
me
it's like,
started on
all
that.
those things. But yeah, just getting to know and accepting, like, it's just like in friendship or relationships. We
Yeah.
all accept differences and we adapt to one another, right? We don't have to be the same or share the same inside,
Mhm.
but if you do care, you just kind of grow together and you adapt, right? You
Mhm.
might start liking or accepting things that you didn't like before just because this is a humane thing to do. It
Yeah.
shows that you're empathetic, and I think that's just what I've noticed or
I agree
kind
with
of,
you.
yeah.
All
So.
right. Well, do you guys have any questions? Um, oh yes, there are stereotypes and biases back home. We call it tribal differences. So within the Gambia, within Sierra Leone, within Nigeria. So Nigeria, I'll start with Nigeria because that's where I spent majority of my life from grade school. Nigeria has 50 states, just like in the US here, and has how many tribes? I think three major tribes, but about 10 different tribes. And there is what you call this tribe only does this. This tribe is only good for this. So we do have that stereotypes and biases back home.
But just like I said earlier, beers and everyone drinks all day long. I'm like, we do not drink. Uh, Growing up, I think the alcohol is just more like accessible and just part of our culture too. But it's not like we drink and like and all day long. It's just not, like our bears
Mm.
walking and it's cold. It is cold, but not 24/7 every season.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see, what is the stereotype that they have of all Africans? Oh, one of the ones I've heard is people from Africa. when we come in here, we try to steal the jobs of from other people. No, we're not here to steal the job. Majority of the time, most of the Africans that come here, at least I'll say for West Africans that come in here, is to get their education, get that money, and go back home. So ultimately, they're not really trying to end up retiring here. They're not either. Trying to retire here. Another thing is a stereotype of where I've had people ask, do you have houses in Africa? Do you have roads and things like that? Yes, there are houses and there are roads. And yes, we speak English. Africa, depending on whether it's west, east, north, south, has been colonized by either the British, the French, or Portuguese. But majority of the language there is English, the British English, and if you do speak that, you get by pretty easy. French and English, and you'll get there.
Mm.
So bonjour, everybody. Uh,
I don't know what
and
else. I think.
any other questions? You guys have questions for us? I know we've been talking and we could go on and talk, but we'll leave room for questions.
Hi, sir and Jenny, this is Kevin. You
Kevin?
guys talked a lot about hope and dreams and perseverance and hard work. Then you also talked about sadness and challenges and cultural changes and everything like that. So if you had to give advice to someone from your home country that was looking to move to the States, what advice would you give them as they prepare to make that change that might make their transition easier?
Kevin, I will give the advice my father gave me. America will eat you alive. No. So I honestly, I think I now understand what my dad meant by America would eat you alive. I did not come with that awareness. So what I'll tell anyone that is moving here is don't base your coming to America on movies. Don't base it on social media. Do your actual research and link that to your personality before you make that decision to come to the States. And prepare yourself for whatever biases or stereotype that is going to come and focus on your dream. If this is a place where you truly want to build it, and find your community before you come in. Because if you come in here without a community, at least from what I have learned and have seen from my fellow West Africans, the best part of Africa, by the way. Yeah, I know there's another African on this show, but West Africa, here we go. Stereotype there. But that's kind of like just do your research before you come in and choose where a state that you will have your community.
Uh, I think it's hard to, like give an advice because I think everyone is different. And I've had one cousin, I have a very small family, but from Russia, and he wanted to move. And I told him, be ready. It's not easy. Because I don't like to sugarcoat things. And I think, like I was saying, my grandmother, oh, Jenny, does everyone drive a Beetle? Because like when you watch the movies, high schoolers have this Beetle card, like the Volkswagen. I'm like, no, grandma. And like everyone wears, like, so I do think, and that's kind of what originally everyone has, right? Like it's just the portrayal of what it's like. But I think the hardest thing is, like my mom, and I now reflect, like I always ask, like, Mom, why were you always so harsh on me, right? Why were you so strict? And she said, just so you learn about hard work. So I think that's what it is. Like, just be prepared that it's not easy, especially if you don't have a lot of financial resources, right? You just come here on your own, or even if you have support system, but you gotta work hard, but also don't ever give up on your dream. And don't ever allow anyone to tell you that you cannot do it. I've had so many people tell me, oh, they laugh at me, oh, what? You gonna get a license? I'm like, if I believed in like in what they were saying and putting me down, maybe I would have like not even pursued my master's or thought, well, I'm not worth it, right? But like my mom always like, you got this, you can do it. And I believed in myself, and that's what kind of pushed me through it. And that's why I try to instill in my son too, that you got to work hard to get where you at. It's not going to be easy. And that's why I appreciate my mom, because she never sugarcoated things for me. Like she was like, you want to have a good job or have a career, you got to work for it because no one else is going to provide that for you. So I think just knowing realistic expectations.
Yeah. And also, don't define the American dream based on Americans.
Right.
Define your American dreams based on what you want to finally achieve and take back home.
Favorite dish from back
Yeah.
home.
My favorite
Many,
dish.
many.
Yeah.
Had it. It's
Yeah.
those little dumplings that my mom makes from scratch. My son loves it. We brought it actually, this little thing from Russia.
Mhm.
And it's the dough, then you stuff it with meat, cilantro, you can do pork, beef, chicken, and then you put another dough, and it's like a little dumplings, you boil it, then you put chicken broth and sour cream. It's like soup, or it's so good.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. My favorite dish from back home is called benachin. So it's almost like the Hispanic fried rice, but cooked completely different. And it can be cooked with lamb, with chicken, with fish. I mean, there's no meal like benachin. You need to Google it up and have a taste. You've had
Oh
benachin
yes, that's
in
what it,
Garen's graduation.
what
Yeah. So it's the rice.
the
Yeah.
rice. Oh, that's
And
good too,
I mean,
yeah.
in most cooking African competition, there is no place like the Gambian Benachin. Google it up, have a taste of it. It's very yummy.
Please tell me.
Um, a bee is not allowed.
Yes, pretty
That's
strict.
strict. Yeah.
But hey, let me tell you, we just had this phone call yesterday, and he said, Mom, I will never be as smart as you. And I said, Why do you say that? He was like, I'm just not as smart because, and I can't really, because growing up, education was way harder. Everything had to be handwritten. We didn't have any computers, phones. And nowadays, it's just with kids in general. I think it's so much more accessible and easier. But I do get mad. I mean, I do get upset, and he has to give me his phone, but not so much for a B. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
Not a B.
I think with my son growing up,
I think
my
he's
son went
worse.
to
Worse.
my son went to a Catholic school also, and all through school honors roll. B, I frown at a B. I need an A and an A plus. And yes, my time was difficult, and I tell my son, you're way smarter than your mom, so I need to expect that from
Yeah.
you.
C,
And
what
yeah,
C would
yeah.
not, C would not be C
And
would
when
be
he went into college, I had to learn how to be like, you know what, this is college. Don't expect him to always be with the A and B's. So the first time he had a C, he called me and said, Mom, I know you're gonna be upset, but I got a C because he's also in the honors roll. And I was like, you know what? Breathe, Isa. It's a C. It's not the end of the world. Grades don't make a job. So that's also something that I'm adjusting to and letting go a little bit of
Yes.
my culture. And he's almost 21. So I'm learning to be not an African parent and let him do his things on his own.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Any other questions for us?
This is Kevin again. I just wanted to say thank you to both of you because I know that we were at Epic meeting and I kind of sprung this on you all, and I didn't volunteer you to do it, but you guys both said that you would be agreeable to do this presentation. So I think this is valuable information for a lot of us just to kind of hear not only what you've had to go through to get to the United States, but then also the hard work and the efforts you had to make to be successful. So you're both wonderful representations of what it looks like to make your way to the States, continue on with education, and to be successful not only academically or employment wise, but just also as people. So I thank you very much for your time today and volunteering to do this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey guys, this is Leo. And if you want to
Oh,
create,
yeah.
If you want to see an example of hard work and how it's passed down, go by 65th and Neiman and see the project that Iser's son did on those picnic tables.
Oh, thank you, Leo. Yeah, my son is Eagle Scout, and for his Eagle Scout project, he chose to honor my workplace by making picnic tables when we were in the Shawnee office. So he made three picnic tables for us. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring it to till later, but
Oh, that's so
yeah.
sweet of him. That's so awesome.
Are
Any
there
other questions?
any other questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you both for sharing your story. I know we all learned a lot and really enjoyed this opportunity. This will be recorded and will be available at a later date. We'll post on SharePoint if you'd like to watch it at a later date.